Shane with etrailer.com. Today I have a 2019 GMC Acadia, and I want to walk through how to install Roadmaster's Direct Connect base plate. The base plate is designed to allow you to flat tow your vehicle behind your motorhome. It's going to attach directly to the chassis of the vehicle and give you a solid connection point for your tow bar. It's going to be a steel construction, nice black powder coat finish. It's really going to hold up well against rust and corrosion. This is going to be a crossbar-style base plate, so if you notice this crossbar here, the crossbar and the brackets to mount the crossbar to your removable arms do not come with the base plate itself. So you want to make sure, if you choose to put this base plate on your vehicle, you get a tow bar that has the crossbar with the brackets. Let's talk about the downsides and upsides of having the crossbar style. Downside is let's say you quit camping for the winter, you're going to take your tow bar off. You're going to have to disconnect the crossbar from the tow bar to store it somewhere. Then you're going to have to find somewhere to store the crossbar. The upside to it, it makes it very easy to disconnect when you're going camping and you're wanting to fold your tow bar up against your motorhome so you don't have to take it off. It's very easy to disconnect it off your vehicle. You simply pull these two top pins and you lift. Fold it up against the back of your car or back of your motorhome, and your vehicle's ready. Again, as I mentioned, these are going to have removable arms. Simply pull the pin, twist, and it maintains a nice clean look on the front of the vehicle. This plate here is what I was talking about that does not come with the base plate. This removable arm does. To get your removable arm installed back on your vehicle when you're ready to tow, you simply push it in until that pin collapses, twist it until it locks into place. Drop your crossbar on, and reinstall your pins. Makes it very simple when you get to where you're going and you want to use your vehicle. Here, we're going to have our safety chain hooks. You can see they don't stick out real far. They don't stick out any farther than our license plate bracket itself. Makes it very easy to get large size safety chain hooks on. The base plate's going to come with two rods to attach your 6-bolt plug and a pre-welded bracket to mount your breakaway switch. Base plate is going to be one of 6 main components needed to flat tow the Acadia behind your motorhome. The other 5 are going to be your tow bar, your safety cables, your wiring, your braking system, and a brake light switch. Another component that may or may not be required, and that's a riser drop. The only way to know that is on the base plate. It's going to measure from the ground to the center of our base plate is going to be 15 inches. Go out to your motorhome, you're going to measure from the ground to the center of your hitch. You want to make sure that number is within 3 inches. One thing you want to make sure is that on the vehicle side, you don't want your tow bar to be up high, so you don't want it angled like this. You want the tow bar to be sitting as flat as possible. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's walk you through how to get it installed. To start our installation, we're going to take a T15 Torx bit. We're going to remove the bolts that are holding this front fascia grill on. We'll have one here, and anywhere on this plastic piece, we're going to remove those from one side to the other. And on our passenger side, we're going to have one underneath our weather stripping. Inside of each wheel well, on the front side of the tire, from the bottom up, there's going to be 4 bolts. You're going to use this T15 Torx bit to remove those 4 bolts. On each side, we're going to pull our wheel well liner out. There's going to be a 7mm head bolt right up here in the corner. For this trim piece, you need to pull up. There's a tab that goes down inside of here. You need to pull up, and then we're going to pull out. Separate it like that. There's little tabs on the inside, and they look like this. If you have a hard time pulling them out, you want to try not to break them. You can take a pair of needle nose pliers and reach up in here and squeeze the tab together. What I would say is at least get to this second one up here to give you enough room when you pull your fascia off. We don't have any interference. Like that. Like I said, at least get to that second one. If you feel like you need to go up farther, there's a third one about right here. You just use the same method. Just squeeze it, pop it out. Just like that. Now, before I move down to the bottom, what I like to do is take some painter's tape. We're going to cover this edge, and this seam right here, so that while we're taking our fascia off and putting it back on, we don't have to worry about any of our pieces getting damaged, any of the paint getting damaged. We want to make sure that we do this on both sides of the vehicle. Same thing with the screw in the corner and then popping these out. Next, we're going to take a 7mm socket. Under each side, we're going to have 5 7mm head bolts we need to remove. 3 of them hold our guard on to our fender liner, and 2 of them hold our front fascia to the liner. If you want to, it's really only going to be necessary to take out this corner, but when you're putting your fascia back on, to get it to, you know, it might make it a little bit easier if you just take the 3 bolts out. It's just a small piece. And we can just set this aside. We'll have 2 on each side right here. Once you get both sides done, we're going to have 2 7mm head bolts attaching our fascia to the guard that's going to our cross member. You're going to be straight up. You're going to have one here, and you're going to have one here. Now we're going to start pulling off our fascia. It's a good idea to have an extra set of hands if you have them. If you don't, you're doing this by yourself. You can do what I did here. Take a box, kind of put it underneath of there, a mat or something, so that when you're done pulling off one side, you're not setting it on the concrete. What we're going to do is we're going to start on the outside edge. We're going to pull out and work our way to the center. Pop it out like this. What we don't want to do is we don't just want to take this and just pull it off, because we're going to have some connectors back in here that we need to take off. Once we get one side off, we're going to come over and do the same thing to the passenger side, but we need to come up here to the top, and you're going to have a weather stripping. Take this and just pull it off like this so that it comes off with your grill. We're just going to lift on the top edge of our grill. We're going to lift up and slide out. This connector we need to unplug. This red tab, push down. We're going to take this white lever and we're going to push just like that. We'll disconnect that. Once we've got our wires disconnected, our fascia loose, we need to take this and set it somewhere safe. And we're going to take a 13mm socket where our subframe goes into our frame. These top 2 bolts we need to remove. We're going to do this on both sides. Next, we need to trim out the plastic piece on both sides, right underneath of our bumper core. Keep in mind, if you have adaptive cruise control component over here, you want to make sure, 1, when you're cutting this, you're not going to damage it, and 2, don't ever remove it. Leave it in its place. I'm going to use a rotary tool with a plastic cutting blade to get that cut out. We're going to set our main receiver brace up into place. If you have an extra set of hands, it does make it a lot easier here. We're going to have a 1/2 inch by 1.5 inch bolt. You're going to put on a lock washer. We're going to make sure we're using red Loctite on all of our hardware that we're installing on our base plate. Red Loctite does not come with your hitch, but you can find it here at eTrailer. We're going to take it and we're going to slide it up in between each frame rail. Both sides are going to be the same. You're going to take this bolt, go from the inside through our bracket, through the frame rail. There's one hole right up inside that will match up with your base plate. Once you get it in place, you're going to have a handle nut. It's going to look like this. We're going to go through the frame rail and thread our bolt into it. Put a slight bend in it. It makes it a little bit easier because it is against the inside wall of our frame rail. Next, on each side, we're going to have two brackets that look like this. This plate, this is going to go on the inside. It's going to go just like this. And we're going to go right over the top of these two holes where we remove those two bolts. You're going to have an 8mm bolt by 1.25. You're going to put on a lock washer and a flat washer. We're going to go through the hole. You're going to take a small pipe spacer and it's going to go on the back side of this plate up against here, and we're going to thread this into the hole. You're going to have two bolts and a bracket for each side. We want to make sure we're going on the inside of our main receiver brace. And again, make sure you're using Loctite on all of your hardware. Once you got those in place, you're going to have two more 1/2 inch by 1.5 inch bolts, lock washer and a nut. On the driver's side, they're supposed to go in from the inside out, but I'm having a problem because of this bracket right here. I can't get the bolt in, so if you're wanting to put this in, you might want to do it as you're put this bolt in with the brace and then put this whole thing up in place. I'm just going to bolt it in the opposite way, and then on the inside we'll put a lock washer and then the nut. Next, we're going to take a 10mm socket. We're going to remove the two 10mm head bolts that are holding our washer bottle in place. The directions say only to move these two. However, I believe there's a third one up here on the 19 that we may have to remove also, which may take a few extra steps, but we'll see what we can do here first. Now what we need to do is this flange right here, or lip, we need to measure from this edge over 1.5 inches. From that edge, we need to go over 4 inches. Where these marks are, there's no up and down measurement from here. I would suggest centering it inside of that. So once you get a mark on there, step back and look, kind of eyeball it. See where the center mark is. What I'm going to do is start with a small drill bit and then step up until I get to a 1/2 inch. Once you get them drilled out, you're going to have a long spacer like this. It's going to go up in between the two. You're going to have a long bolt like this, head side on the outside. You're going to go through, all the way through your base plate. On the inside, you're going to put a lock washer and a nut. You're going to do the same thing on both sides. Once you have everything installed, you're going to come back, tighten and torque everything down. You're going to use a 3/4 inch socket for these large ones, and a 13mm socket for the smaller two on each side. Once you get everything torqued down, you can cut these off or bend them back inside the frame and then reinstall your washer bottle. You can go ahead and reinstall your fascia. One thing I suggest is before you get your fascia put back in place, if you're putting diode wiring in and a braking system, do that before you put your fascia back on. It's a lot easier to run all your wires with it off. Also, with this base plate, this bracket right here on the bottom, this is for your breakaway switch on your braking system. I suggest putting that on and then trimming your fascia out around the breakaway switch. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard to get that bolted in place. Once you get all that done, there's a template in your kit or in your instructions for your base plate for trimming all of this out. Follow those instructions and reinstall your fascia after you're done. Once you're done with that, you're ready to go. That's going to do it for a look at an installation on the Roadmaster Direct Connect base plate on our 2019 GMC Acadia.